You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Yasha Osby, managing attorney at Optimum Legal Services, PLLC, in South Florida, Plantation, more specifically, close to Fort Lauderdale. Yasha's focusing on landlord tenant, family law, and she's now expanding into real estate. Great to have you with us. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, for sure. This is great. I'm excited to talk to you about your story. We featured you on Lawyer Stories, lawyer_stories on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We're trying to build up a little bit. Looks like you got some good engagement there. People really enjoyed your story. So tell us, are you a native of Florida?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Fort Lauderdale, okay.
I've pretty much stayed here my entire life. I have never moved out of state.
That's awesome. So you decided to pursue like a career in law pretty early on. Like what, do you remember like the main factors of that?
Yeah, just watching crime shows with my grandfather. I really enjoyed Matlock. So I was more into like the criminal law aspect of things, and I really enjoyed it. So early on, I just decided, okay, this is something that I want to do, or I can see myself pursuing when I grow older. So I signed up for a pre-law magnet program at
Right.
my high school.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you actually did for a while keep up with like the criminal law theme, like in Matlock. I think he was like a criminal attorney, right?
Yeah, criminal
Yeah.
defense.
Right. So you sort of kept up with that because, like you just mentioned, there was a magnet program at your high school. So, like, what was that like?
Oh, it was fun. It was a great way to be exposed to the law, academically, but also just seeing how things worked. So we learned about the Constitution,
Oh, that's awesome.
criminal law, and those were courses that we took at the high school.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's amazing. So, did they have like attorneys come in and teach you, or was it the teachers?
Some of the teachers were actually, I think we had one high school teacher, if I remember, Mr. Katz. I think he was involved as an
Shout out to
attorney at
Mr.
some
Katz
point.
out there if you're listening.
Yeah, I would never
Student
forget
over
him.
here.
He had a really
All
great
right.
class.
That's good. No, I mean, those are some like really interesting topics, especially when you're that age. I think, you get somebody involved with constitutional law and the amendments and equal rights and equal protection and due process. And I don't know, I could kind of see myself being really interested in something like that too.
Yeah.
Did a lot of the kids take to it, like who were in your class?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my ninth grade class, like the first intro class was civics. And
Okay.
that teacher, he was Mr. Sponsler. He was a great teacher too.
Wow. All right. That's awesome. So that these teachers had sort of an influence on you a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Did you end up like keeping in touch with them? Are you like Facebook friends or what?
No, unfortunately I didn't, but I remember their names. So
Well, they'd be very proud of you if they're ever watching this podcast and seeing what you're doing. So you ended up going to FIU undergrad, and then I believe after undergrad you became a probation officer. Is that correct?
yes, that is
So
correct.
what does that really entail?
Oh man. A lot of patience, understanding, communication. I worked with so many different types of people, and families. I specifically was a juvenile probation officer.
Yep.
I really enjoyed my position as a juvenile probation officer, um, I I started, I think, at the age of 22. So I was exposed quickly to a lot of the criminal law processes.
Okay.
And I quickly learned a lot of skills, case management, criminal justice,
Right.
just supervision of a lot of youth. And I did it for about 5 years. I took a different stance from a lot of my coworkers at the time, in
That's
which,
interesting. Tell us about that.
yeah, I really liked trying to give the children second chances.
Yeah.
Some of them is, you know, it was hard, but I tried. I loved and enjoyed working with families from different areas,
Yep.
um, trying to get them into different programs, seeing what they needed as far as resources
Now,
so that they're
with that
successful.
position, are you giving it like a judgment or like an opinion to to an attorney or something, and saying like, or a judge, like I think like this person's progressed or they have, um,
Yes, so we would have to do like progress reports or attend court hearings to give updates on their progress with probation supervision.
okay, gotcha. And you not only you decided to go to law school, like you were doing that at night, is that correct? While you were doing this job?
Yes.
That's unbelievable. So you said yourself, you always wanted to go to law school, right? Like we talked about it when you
Yeah.
were younger, and then you just decided to have a full-time job and then go as a night student. My law school had a night program too, but I was a full-time student. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, that had to be a crazy. I think what the program's probably 4 years, five
Yeah,
years.
it was a very crazy experience. Starting off, it was a big adjustment.
Yeah,
I just, at first, I questioned a lot, like if this was something that I really want to continue doing, but I did it anyway. I think you get to a point where it's like, just do it now or never. I'm the type of person I want to
awesome.
just go ahead and get it done. That's what I did. It wasn't easy. I would
Hmm.
have to come in from work. Pretty much, I didn't have a break in between. I just went straight from work to school and it's study time after
Right.
school.
That's right. You had those like 6 to 9 o'clock classes, right? You were like
Yes.
dinner the first part of class. You're just trying to. Yeah, no, it's I hear you. And that I think that says a lot actually about your character, and being able to, and your work ethic, really like being able to work all day with these kids, which is probably totally draining, and then go to law school and obviously be on high alert if you're going to get called on or something, right? So
Yeah.
I think that really speaks to your work ethic. Like, what advice would you give somebody who's sort of going that route? Like, they want to do law school at night or part time, because they're working.
I would tell them it is doable. It's just mainly mindset. You have to have a good mindset and be determined to get it done. A lot of times I just always thought about this is just a short term or
Right.
short period out of my life that I need to get done and over with. Also have a good tribe of friends. In law school, I met some awesome people. I became friends, and that encouraged me a lot because I had a lot of things that was going on in law school, and because I had people in my corner who were going through the same thing, and we
Mhm.
were all encouraging each other, that helped along the way. Mentors are important as well.
Mentors.
Having
Yep.
mentors in law school because they're going to give you that accountability and guidance that you need to make it through.
Yeah. No, while we're on mentors, I know I have a question later in the show. Like, what? So, tell us about like any mentors that you had in law school and how
Yeah.
important they are.
Oh, they're very important. So I joined as a student member of our local Florida Women's Association of Lawyers, and I had a mentor through there. Um, she was just spot on as telling me and guiding me as far as being focused in law school. Um, she was a solo practitioner.
Nice.
So she gave me a lot of guidance on, okay, right now your focus should be graduating, passing the bar, and then, you make that plan on how you're going to transition after all of that is done.
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate. What about Mr. Katz? You never went back to him in high school, did you? Ask what do you
No,
think?
I didn't. I
I'm
was
just
in
kidding.
Orlando
I'm
at
just
the
kidding.
time.
So did you ever think about like quitting like your job to just go full time at law school, or that just like wasn't an option, right?
Oh yeah, so many times I thought about quitting my
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. So yeah, okay. Well, so you get through it the 4 or 5 years, like you must be like, you see the end is coming, this is amazing, like you're at the finish line, right? And you graduate during the pandemic, right? Well, I think it's like 2020 was, did you say?
Yes, it was
Yeah.
2020.
And so you got a job. Tell us about your first job out of law school.
So my first job out of law school, it was with the state still. So I was still with the state, just a different
Yep.
department. I transitioned to the Department of Economic Opportunity, and they process unemployment appeals. Well, everyone was pretty much unemployed during the height of the pandemic, right? So
Right.
it was crazy. I was just thrown out there to the wolves.
Really? Yeah. So
And
were you doing these appeals virtually, right?
yeah, we
Okay.
telephonically
Yeah.
conducting appeal hearings. Yes.
Did any of that make you want to go into employment law at all?
Yeah, I did. I do some employment here and there, employment law cases here and there.
So what did you see a lot of, like people who are trying to get that appeal? Like I guess they've been denied. I'm guessing they've been denied unemployment,
Yeah, they were
and then
denied
they're
unemployment.
so they're trying to get their money every week. Like, was there any patterns that you saw, like people trying to say certain things to like get their money, or it isn't really like relevant to like our conversation, but I'm just sort of curious about it.
Yeah, at the time, so the state of Florida at some point had a big glitch um, in their system that
Yeah.
claimants use to go and file for unemployment. So most of the stories were, I've been filing and filing, and I eventually got something months later telling me that I'm denied.
Mm.
So right off the bat, you had that procedural issue because a lot of people were unable to file for unemployment when they initially wanted to.
Okay.
They finally get in months later and they're able to do it. And then several months after that, they're being told they're denied, even after waiting all of these months. So
Uh,
that was pretty much a lot of people's stories. Um,
so what I mean, so what is that? Were they looking for back pay or something?
yeah, back pay.
Okay, all right.
So they're back pay in a
And an apology from the
reversal.
state from
Yeah.
Yasha. They're like, you need to apologize to me right now.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was a crazy experience
Yeah.
because everyone was upset. And what do? You just have the law, right? So a lot of those times there were a lot of stories where I was, of course, very sympathetic and I felt really bad, but the law is also the law too. So there were not many exceptions if the denial was based on a legal reason.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually been on the other end of some of those, a couple of the unemployment cases where, as like I was sort of representing, not as an attorney, but as like a head of an agency that I run,
Mhm,
the employer. So somebody
mhm.
who left the office trying to, they were denied and trying to get their money. So
I
he
say
probably
you're
would have been
big.
our hearing officer if it would have been in Florida. But anyway, nobody cares about about this part of what I'm talking about. So let's keep going with Yasha here. So after this job, you said I need more for myself. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, I just started to feel a little complacent. Every day was feeling the same. Um, and for me, my life has never been like that.
Yeah, sure.
So I was like, yeah, I'm not being challenged professionally as I would like.
Right.
And also the pay wasn't that great,
Yep.
the state of Florida. So I just started thinking of different ways and opportunities. I know that I disclosed that I was trying to get into federal government, but at the time there were so many hiring freezes.
Yeah,
I
oh,
wasn't hearing from
totally,
anybody.
totally. Yeah,
So then I finally decided. I said, you know what? It might be a great opportunity to go out on my own.
that's amazing.
I didn't know exactly where to start. So I just started doing some research, found some resources that the Florida Bar provides for solo practitioners, found a boot camp. I took the boot camp and I just felt geared and ready to go.
That's amazing. And so then was Optimum Legal Services, PLLC. That's a great name. Where, like, how'd you come up with that?
I had been thinking about my firm name for a while.
Yeah, that's totally
And
cool.
I was like, I didn't want to go I know a lot of attorneys go the traditional last name route, but I didn't want to do that. I
Yeah,
was like, what message can I give my clients that, hey, you're going to get first rate service? Like, I care. I want to be that attorney for you. And I just kept thinking of different names, scribbling on a piece of paper. And I
there you go.
finally thought Optimum Legal
No,
Services, and it works.
I was looking at it earlier and I'm like, optimum's like a cool word. Like, I don't know. I think society needs to use that word a little bit more. So I think,
Yeah.
no, I personally think you hit it on the head. That's a great name for your firm. So, like, what advice could you give people who are thinking about going out on their own?
The advice that I would give people thinking about going on their own, number one, do a boot camp like I did.
Okay.
There are plenty of those out there.
Yep.
Um, Number two, have a plan.
Sure.
This is really not for the faint of heart. And so you want to make sure that this is something that you want to do. And I think that memorializing it and having it down in writing will help you visualize where you're trying to go.
That's great. Yeah. So like what were your like how first of all, how long have you been in business for yourself?
1 year.
Wow, congratulations on 1 year.
Thank
So
you.
like what kind of cases did you first start to get?
Um, I first started to get condo cases, a lot of family cases. Um, and
Family law cases?
yeah, family law.
Okay.
And I was actually kind of surprised because the plan that I had in place, I didn't think that I was going to get clients right away, right?
Okay.
So I did my official announcement on social media
Yep.
and I started getting calls, and I was just like, oh,
And
okay.
now were the calls from people you knew or just people that
Yeah,
were called?
people I
Okay.
knew.
Okay. That's
So
great.
that was
That's
pretty,
unbelievable. And it was
yeah, it's
mostly
pretty
so it's like
amazing.
family law to begin with,
Yeah.
and then like divorce or like custody or what kind of things?
Uh, more divorces pretty
Okay.
much were all of my beginning family law
Okay.
cases.
So did you use somebody as like a framework? Did you say, hey, to like, did you associate yourself with another attorney? Did you say I have these cases? Like, you know, what now? No, did you say like, can you sort of like, associate with me on this case? Or
Yeah, so I always had mentors, so I didn't
yeah,
have like co-counsel
okay,
type of thing, but I always had mentors where I'm like reaching out, hey, is this the way to do this? Or can
yep,
you give me a little guidance? And they were very helpful. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention was so I joined my local bar association and they have a solo section.
that's great. Yeah.
In that section, you're able to meet other solos. And that was helpful for me
Yep.
early on too, because they're great sounding boards.
So, so while you just said that, I want to add on if you ever see anybody on Lawyer Stories, like whether they're in the feed, like on our posts or have been on our podcast, that I can make a warm introduction to you, I would be
Mhm.
happy to do it. That's going to be part of Lawyer Stories Connect, like what we're building now. Is me making warm connections to people to get them to network together. So I'm happy to do it if you ever, see anybody that you want to connect with.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course, of course. So yes, I think that is a big thing to go to the bar association and for solos, and that's great that they have that. Sorry, I don't know if I cut you off with that with your answer there or not.
No, no, it was a thought. I forgot to mention it earlier about, tools that are
Yeah.
helpful for solos.
Oh yeah, totally. So we did touch on mentors. So tell us, there's a theme with podcasts, with whether you're, an attorney who's been at it 20 years, a practicing attorney, or if you've been at it 30 years or 10 years, systems. Like everybody, a lot of people talk about how important it is to have systems in place.
Mhm.
Can you touch on that, like in the last first year of being your own boss, like the importance of systems and like having a plan in place?
Oh yeah, it is very important. So starting off, I had a great plan, but off the back, I didn't have all of the systems that I probably should have had in place. I eventually found out about a case management software that I started utilizing, and that helped me to automate a lot of things from intake all the way to signing the client up and
Right,
then managing their cases. Um, as a solo, you need time. So you have to find ways or systems you have to put in place that's going to give you time.
right. Yeah, no, totally. I hear that a lot with systems. You should be doing the things that you want to do and are best at, and sort of farm out what you can. So that we also have a connection with virtual assistants and all that. If you're ever looking for that, we can hook you up with a special lawyer stories. Our preferred partner, which will also be part of Lawyer Stories Connect. So that was a
That's
little
sounding good.
plug
Yeah,
for
I need
Connect. Oh
to
yeah,
hear about
I'm
this.
here to help. I'm here to connect the people, and just be a part of that. So
You're the plug, Ben.
I am. That's it. So like, how besides social media, like, how can you get clients when you first open your practice?
Okay, so I'm a millennial, so I don't do
Yeah,
a lot of traditional things. So I'm going to put that
so much
disclaimer
older
out
than
there.
you. I was only shaking my head because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so much older than everybody. Okay,
So I did invest in Google local service ads.
okay,
Um, Word of mouth has been very helpful, but
yep,
I wanted to get on with Google local service ads because I think a lot of people don't understand it. It's like a work in progress, but it's going to be very advanced pretty soon.
okay,
Um, when I first started, I did get a lot of volume, but the leads were not the best. I'll say that.
okay,
But it also was because of user error on my end too. Keyword searches, SEO, all of these things that I had never heard or learned about before.
okay. Yeah, no, SEO is important. We've had a couple SEO, like some of the top ones on our show in the past.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's and it's difficult too. It's like time consuming to do it if you're just starting out. So I hear you, but can't be so hard on yourself, Yasha.
Yeah, yeah. So that was Google local service ads. I had been, I don't know if I should say a victim, but
So when you
I,
say Google local service ads,
uh
what exactly is that? Like what does that mean? Like you have an ad on Google that like pops up for people?
yeah. So if someone searches like family lawyer near me,
Okay.
um, my ad could pop up and it could pop up first,
Okay.
depending on if I have the correct keywords on my ad
Gotcha.
and also my location.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. That sounds if you can get it right, the keywords, it sounds like a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, is there any other ways? You said social media. You posted. You probably did. You do like a big post, like, "Hey, everybody, guess what I'm doing?"
Yeah, I did.
Cool. All right. Did you say I did a thing? Did you use that phrase?
No, I didn't say I did a thing. I was
Okay,
just like, hey, family and friends, this is what's going on.
that's awesome. No, I'm kind of just kidding. I mean, if you did, it's great. That's awesome. Um, so what organizations would you recommend joining besides maybe Lawyer Stories Connect? And I know there's like the ABA. Is there anything else besides that, like any more networking or that sort of thing?
Yes. So, of course, the local bar associations,
Yep.
they have also been very helpful because they also have a lawyer referral service. Depending on what type of law you do, they may be able to provide you with referrals as well. That's another way to get leads. Um, Also, associations outside of law that a lot of people don't think about. So, for instance, on the landlord tenant side, I just started thinking, like, where are some associations where I could get leads? And so I started going and attending this local chapter of it, air conditioning contractors, right? Because some of them deal with a lot of mold. They go and service homes
Yep.
with broken ACs with mold in it. So I started thinking outside of the box, and I feel like
Yeah.
in order to be ahead of the game, that's what you have to do.
Right. So landlord tenant specifically, what have you been doing with that? Like, have you been doing evictions or what sort of work?
Yeah, so a little bit of everything. So
Okay.
evictions, lease agreements, disputes regarding repair, regarding mold issues. Um, and I've done both tenant side and landlord, but I'm pretty much now focusing on landlord side now.
Okay. Yeah, I actually, when I practiced downtown New Haven, I worked as the attorney in house,
Oh,
doing
wow.
going to housing court, representing the housing authority against the defendant residents. So I know a little bit about summary process. That's what it's called up here, and like the
Mhm.
an eviction and that sort of thing. Definitely like keep pushing with that, like in terms of finding like a big, find like a big complex or something. And
That's what I'm trying to do.
I know that's awesome. So, and now you're like dipping into real estate a little bit. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I started really getting that idea because I now have commercial landlord clients. And those clients, they're just like, okay, now I want you to do this. So it's
Yep.
not just the landlord tenant side. They're like, hey, do you do closings? I want you to do my closing. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, no, actually, I don't. And so it has happened a few times where I'm like, it's missed opportunity,
Yeah.
missed opportunity.
Right. Well, don't be so hard on yourself. Well,
Yeah,
that's interesting. I know, like that. You just have to keep pushing with some of those mentors, so we don't
yeah,
miss out on these opportunities. But that's great. I mean, those are three big time areas of law. If you can keep it going like that, where do you see your firm in 5 years?
in 5 years, I definitely want to see my firm where it's expanded, where I have associates. Um, when I started off, I had the idea of, okay, I'm going to be, um, it's going to be me the entire time, but
Yeah.
that quickly left. That thought process quickly left after I realized that it's a lot being a solo. So
Right.
I would love to eventually have like at least two associates and support staff in 5 years.
That's awesome. I think that's great goals. Well, thank you so much for being here and spending time. I know you're super busy with clients and sharing your story and giving us advice and talking to us about what you do. So thank you, and stay there. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves.